Thank you for staying with Daybreak. We're speaking about youth in action. What are the issues? What are the possible solutions in their own way? And what have they done in their own capacity? My guests are still with me. Kennedy Odede, CEO, Shofco, and UN Mandela Prize winner 2025. Jared Mugendi is here, advocate of the High Court. Valentine Wanjiru, founder 6.25 movement, is joining us online from the Washington, US. Bernard Okoth, a youth leader from Kisumu, is with us. And Ivy Mwishoki, national coordinator, VAR 3738. That is a Viable Alternative Republic. And Ivy, I'll come to you because you mentioned something that is interesting, that you're trying to reimagine a new Kenya. What does that look like at a time when we seem to be recycling the same leaders? The young people seem to be their own greatest enemies by doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Okay. That's a very good question, actually, Trevor, because right now every young person is wondering, okay, what do I do to be able to actually fix the problem that I am in? Of course, we've already articulated our constitutional right, which is Article 37, which is the right to petition, to go on the streets and say, this is not what we don't want. But now, how do we move from that Article 37 to now Article 38, which is your right to actually conform, to say now we've already gone to the streets, we've said that this is not right. So how do we now make this, what we went to the streets, to now put it on actual documentation, to put it on actual policy frameworks and say, these are the policies we want to be changed, these are the things. So we are saying we are calling for an intergenerational dialogue. That is where we change the system. We change the system by bringing the young people on the table, by telling them, okay, fine, what do you want? What's wrong in your county? What do you feel that the young people need in your county? Let's go to maybe the infrastructure is not good, maybe the affordable housing is not good, maybe in terms of the education system is not good. So we want all this on the table. We want to hear your sentiments. We want to hear your view, because public sentiments, he who holds public sentiments holds the day. That's the narrative of the day, because at the end of the day, this system has been created to work for the people. So if the system is not working for the people, that means there's a disparity. That means there's a problem. I was seeing yesterday during the game with Angola versus Kenya, that Kenya was actually beaten by Angola, but because of the VAR actually saved Kenya. So that's what we are trying to say. The viable.
Offside, Ivy.
Yes, it was. But at the end of the day, the VAR actually saved Kenya. Let's be real. VAR saved Kenya. Yeah. And that's where we are trying to say, we are now trying to save the country. We are trying to say, what is the viable alternative republic? What does it look like to you? Give us an overview. How can we referee the country into a system that works for the people? Do we need systems? Do we need an oversight committee to be looking at the corruption scandals, both inclusive of the male, the young, everyone included? Do we need to see maybe a national inclusivity framework that can actually make us feel that we are united? We just saw recently that the president, His Excellency President actually called for the NADCO report. He's created a committee for actually accentualizing the NADCO report. That means that's where we are heading to as a country. So what does that mean for us? How do we look at this NADCO report? What is it that it's going to do for us? These are the things that the young people now need to start reimagining. How does this benefit you? How does it work for you? Because if we don't use these opportunities around us, it's going to bypass us.
Okay.
So we are we're in a change, we're in a transformative stage in our lives. Okay. And this is the stage where the older generation need to include the younger generation so as to be able to make it better for the generation that is behind us. Because if we're not together as a system or as a unit, then the country crumbles. I'm going to give now the last example. I was reading just before I came here, and I was seeing the formation of a wolf pack. How the wolves come together. At the front is normally the old and the wary. At the second, after the old and the wary of the wolf, those are the very old wolves who are very experienced and right behind them are the younger generation, the ones who are strong, the ones who are ready to fight. And behind the strong and the young generation comes the mothers and the alpha wolves, the young ones. So are you seeing if a pack is able to consensualize themselves like that, then what is wrong with us humans? I mean, you know, we need to look at the animals, because at the end of the day, if the animals are doing it, then it means that we can also reorganize ourselves and actually formation ourselves to be able to now give the younger generation their due.
Yeah.
So that's where we are saying that an intergenerational dialogue is needed, so that every one of us can actually be part of reimagining the system.
Okay, I'll hear what the rest of the panelists think about that dialogue. But Bernard, you had mentioned something which I found interesting, that the challenges are mostly caused by our leaders, and sometimes they even deny opportunities in political spaces. I'm sure you've experienced that before. But aren't the young people their own worst enemies? Because if the young people are the majority in the country, aren't the leaders a reflection of who the young people are?
Trevor, first I'll begin by maybe challenging what my brother talked about, hope. You know, a hopeless person can never go for anything. So you cannot talk of hope, then at the same time tells us now to go for what we think we want. So rubbing off hope in the whole thing, the whole story, I find it not working. Youth, we are the problem, like I said, and now the leaders, current leaders we have. Trevor, like if you go to my region where I come from, there is no one that punishes a betrayer than a loyalist of certain leaders. And now this comes because now we are brainwashed. Are you getting the point? We believe to some people to an extent that we now forget that we need to live our lives and we also have future to live. The moment youth, we are told that we are the majorities. Well, we are the majority, but now when it comes to voting, we are nowhere to be seen. That means that we are being misused. During election period, we'll be used. And that's when you realize that now our own leaders knows us by our names. They know names of our mothers. They know even our origin and everything. But after election, you find that you are no one. That means you are used and dumped. I see of a situation whereby there's an event that was presided over by my party leader, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And we have the same old man, someone standing and telling Kenyans that me, I don't need to campaign. I only wait for election day, 10 days to election days, I go dance with women, dash money, then automatically becomes the elected one. I found such remarks very reckless, and it's also an insult to the electorates. Someone who also wishes well for his constituents or electorates needs to empower the young generation. Totally empowerment is not a thing of the day to the current leaders, the regime that we have. And that's why as young youth, young men outside here, we're fighting for these positions. We're fighting for the space. And it's not all about having a young one in the office. We need people with brain. Like whenever we are sold to these policies, people come with very sweet promises. And Constitution is our shield. We need to know our position. We need to realize ourselves and do whatever we can in our capacity to make sure that we get what we want. No one will bring to you what you want wherever you are seated. If you don't actually fight for it, you will not get it. Some elective positions are not designated for specific people. Everyone has a space. Constitution sets it very clear. There are thresholds, there are qualifications for one to run for an office. And maybe there's a culture that now makes it look like the whole election process now becomes a reserve for certain people, that if you don't have money, you cannot run for an office. Trevor, we youth, we are starters. We never have enough to do our things. Yeah. Like, let me take for example of a graduate. You are from school. You are going to run for an elective position like an MCA. Someone demands you to have a wife, to have money, and to have a home. Where are you getting all these three things to run for an office? And you are a youth. You are smart, well, you can lead. Because a look at the roles and responsibilities of an elected leader like an MC or an MP. Yeah. There are three key major roles. For a graduate, everything is just okay. You can apply this so long as you know the constitutional mandate of anyone in whichever position that you're going for.
Yeah.
But the moment someone demands you to have money to dish handouts, that's where we now go wrong and we're missing the points. At times we may be having very good leaders, people who can represent our interests well, but now because of that money culture, we're failing to get leaders who can actually really lead us. So these old men, old folks with money will come, they dish money, they eventually become elected.
They carry the day.
Then after carrying the day, we still remain. We now want to start going to our knees. It is high time that we youth don't need to go down on our knees to get justice or to get the services that we need.
All right. Mugendi, what are your thoughts on that? Are the youth their own worst enemies?
Let me first begin by saying, whoever designs your perceptions can influence you. If I can influence you, I can control you. So the quality of the information that the youths have is what is designing their perceptions. And that perception has influenced them to a particular degree. Therefore, you can be controlled. Now, there's this thing I hear about use and misuse. We are being used and misused. Now, would it be really ridiculous to ask, why are you allowing yourself to be misused? Honestly, is it that you just sit there and say, okay, now it's my turn to be misused? Because I'm looking at a situation of this hope thing that we're talking about. Let me borrow some Christian principles for the sake of the weaker brethren. For the sake of the weaker brethren. Let me borrow a few Christian principles.
Yeah.
Christians operate from a principle that you have what you do not see. That I am that which has not happened right now, but I have it. It's actually called faith. That is not hope. If you borrow that principle, even in business, many people assume that you have money when you have it cash. And as we were talking during the break, I was trying to bring out that issue. For many young people, you are not failing because you do not have a Mercedes-Benz or a Range Rover, or you cannot afford a 60,000 apartment, or you cannot buy furniture from the most high-end store you can think about. That cannot be the definition of success. If you are disciplined, if you know that every day you wake up and you're working on your God-given gifts, and that's why I said I will borrow some Christian principles. It says, you write your dream down. It may tarry. It may take a long time, but it comes to pass. Because there are things, whether we like it or not, the universe bends to the world that you create in your own mind. You create your world with your words. So if we have ascribed ourselves that title, that we are always misused, that we are careless during elections, then that is a cycle that is bound to repeat.
Let
me give practical examples, for instance. For his sake, he is vying to be maybe a member of parliament or an MCA. Vie for a member of parliament. I and a couple of friends have designed a system that deals with voter pattern analysis. You do not need to know a rich person for me to tell you this is how this vote is going to run. You know? Does that need the government? Absolutely not. I have a friend who is very good at tracking legislative bills from parliament and designing solutions that helps lawyers present memoranda to parliament. Now, he did not need the government to intervene for him in any shape or form. He has carved out a space which he enjoys and loves, and he has innovated away. But there I was offering to him, in case he's wondering, I can assist with his constituency. So those particular instances are not meant to show people that you do not know this or that, or to be prescriptive of how people should operate. They are merely meant to show, are we as youth able to identify areas first individually that we are quite good at, that we do not need government intervention?
So skills.
Once we identify them, are we able to coalesce with other like-minded people? For instance, I have heard he's a community leader. If we were to hold hands together with my skills in vote pattern analysis, I am sure we'll be able to design the candidature of several people who we think would be good for the nation. Because like it or not, we choose leaders who come from our own bowels. Leaders don't fall from another planet.
Yeah.
They are the same people who we culture. So if we do not correct from within, so that we present from without, then we still have the same cycle. So are we our worst one enemies? Possibly. But is there a remedy? I think so.
Yeah.
But it's only that the remedy takes time. But in a world where we microwave things, you know, we Uber for things, things are delivered, the effort is minimal to get the results, then it is very difficult for someone to tell you, you know, this can take you 4 years, this can take you 10 years, this can take you 3 years. If you see your campus mate is driving an S-Class, you know, the urgency to match up to him is something which, even if you were to blame the government, honestly, it can only be something that only you can manage.
Okay.
So I would suggest to the youth that the world is not all doom and gloom.
Okay.
There are other alternatives which we can explore
and
confidently take up the roles, despite the harshness of this world.
So there's hope.
There is, no, there is faith.
Okay.
There is faith, not hope. Hope is not a strategy.
Okay, Ken, what are your thoughts on this? What are we getting wrong?
I think thanks so much, Trevor. So as we are talking about these things, we just don't to say everything is negative. Just sitting here honestly, I've been already, I'm hopeful again.
Yeah.
We're hearing from Valentine, what she's doing, you know, being able, she's away, but she's working, right? And how do you take those ideas? So for me, I'm really already feeling so, and I love what you talk about, I took 35 to 37.
Yeah.
You see, so for me, that's what Ivy talk about, and Bernard, the work we're doing. So I think we're heading somewhere. And of course, Mugendi and your friend, tracking the bills. Most of the time we forget those things, right? Yeah. And then again, something we have to talk about. The youth, you don't have to fight for everything. Have you seen the real lion? They don't just go for anything. They're like, you are now. This one, yeah? So I think our youth of the country also have to be very careful. Keep your energy for what is important. And also work with the leaders who want to see the change. I'll give an example, my brother. So right now, and the idea of the seat on the table, what the mistake we are doing was the time, you are begging for a seat. Don't ever beg. Okay? Walk in and sit in a table, right? Or build your own table. I really believe in that. Otherwise, right? Don't wait. Okay? So right now, we're having a big event, National Youth Day is happening in Homa Bay.
Yeah.
And here you can see where people can work together. This is Governor Wanga with working together with Shofco plus the County Council of Governors. And we were like, you know what? The youth agenda must be there. And now you see the government, and we're going to give a report to the president. You see, so for me, that's the thing I really want the youth to focus on. Right now, we're going to work with the youth from all over the county, over the country of Kenya. They're going to come in Homa Bay, and it'll be about the youth. So my point is that if a place you guys can work together to achieve something, the youth, let's do that, okay? Don't just fight for any fight. Doesn't really, as we talk about the NATCO report. Okay, the youth, now don't just keep quiet. Put your points out there, okay? So that's the thing I want to talk about. I think that we also need to work together in partnership. And I'm also a little bit sad that I never reached out to Ivy, Valentine, Bernard, and Mugendi. We talk about youth. Why? It's the right time now. We work together. Because for us to achieve the big goal there, we have to work together as leaders and supporting the young people.
Yeah. Will this big goal mean younger people getting into leadership positions or just crafting the policy direction that we want the country to take? Or both?
So Trevor, I don't want to scare you. Yeah. But I don't know what to say. The system is deep. Bernard, I don't know why they're giving you some problems. We have seen, and I've seen them, I know some of them, who are just normal people in the community who became elected.
Yeah.
My friend, they get elected, tomorrow they're given a car. I won't say the name, okay? They change their point of view. Tomorrow you're a young woman who was, people believe in you in your community. somewhere, I don't know, in Rift Valley, example, okay? And people are like, this young lady stands for us, or this young man, or from Kibera, wherever, right? You get there, Trevor. Now you are part of them. Tomorrow, what will I do if I'm a community? I'm like Trevor and Bernard. Kama una pesa, haukuli kura yangu. Kwa nini? Si juzi. Trevor alikuwa hapa hata na pesa. Na mdomo tamu, na community work. Tukampatia kura. So I have an idea. So then what do we do in terms of making these people accountable?
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, without saying too much, in Nairobi, Shofco was doing a debate.
Yeah.
And we have over 30 MCAs who got elected in the county. You know that, Bernard? Kisumu have many MCA who through that, right?
Yes.
Somehow, there was no accountability. Some of them have become part of the problem again. The same in Mombasa. So I think we have to start thinking. And that's why I really believe in organizing, honestly.
Yeah.
If we can work together as a community, and the youth to lead on this, okay? So, okay, Bernard, you are running. But now, if you, let's make an agreement with the community. And I think that will change everything. Because right now, you will be dealing with party leader of what? That has been there for a long time. Okay? But believe me, people have been elected, people don't have party. Have you seen that happening?
It is.
But they let people down. So they better, shetani ambaye unamujua ni mzuri kushinda nini? Malaika ambaye, right? So we don't have accountability.
Okay.
And we are blaming our community and the electorate, but those who are elected also the problem. If you are elected with the faith, with the idea that we believe in you, you're going to bring, you know, and you go there, my brother and my sister, and you become part of them. Tomorrow, nataka pesa yangu pia. Nyinyi wote ni wanyama the same.
Yeah.
I'm done.
It's interesting. Let me bring in Valentine on this. Valentine, what are your thoughts when it comes to social contracts and accountability? And Ken is raising a very interesting thing here, especially when it comes to the political scene. We know that the work of legislators is mostly representation, oversight, and legislation. But is it time to have almost like a social contract with the people, written down in paper that this is 1, 2, 3 is going to be done? And if it is not, you simply don't even run again, because everybody knows this is what we agreed upon in print. Or how do we have accountability among young people?
Yeah. Let me first start by saying one of my esteemed colleagues mentioned intergenerational dialogue. I per se don't think that is necessary, and this is why. Why do we need a dialogue to reiterate what the Kenyan Constitution, which is, if not the best in the world, the best, has everything that we need? It just needs to be implemented. So implementation is a problem. And I agree that we don't beg for power, we need to take power. And how we as young people take this power is we mobilize ourselves. Among ourselves, I know finances are something that may seem to be tough, but I remember being a student leader in Mount Kenya University and running without a cent. How did that happen? Came into groups. One person says, hey, Valentine, I can print 10 posters for you. Another person says, I can do this for you. Another person says this. We can obviously come together and donate among ourselves. I per se, the 625 movement, we've been running it on a volunteer basis, no cent, and it's been running. So it's very possible to be able to take that power among ourselves, but we also need to get IDs, register as voters, and vote. Another thing that I wanted to mention before I forget, in terms of finances and election, Kenya needs serious election finance campaign reforms. We need to be able to have transparency, knowing who is donating how much to this candidate, how much has been donated, what is the maximum amount, is there a threshold that can be donated, should handouts be legal or illegal? I per se think they should be illegal, right? We need to change these norms that have been in the political space. And how do we start changing this? We just start practicing it in the next election to come. And the more we practice it, the more it becomes a norm. And in terms of accountability, like I mentioned, the Constitution has everything that we need for the systems in Kenya to run. We, the voters, we, the electorate, have the power to decide we don't want this person. We have the power to say, if this person is out, we can say for the next member of parliament, we want a full audit for the last 10 years. We want to see, are there any ghost workers in this, are there any ghost workers in the constituency who are being paid and are not working? That's how we get accountability, but it has to come with how we vote and the type of leaders that we elect. So
in the end, Valentine, this is a reflection of the people themselves, because you talked about voting based on merit and track record, but we've seen quite a number of people get into those positions who have questionable track record, and it's not that the electorate did not know.
Yeah, that is true. But also, Trevor, we have to understand where it all begins, right? And I think this is also one of the, like I mentioned, one of the goals of the 625 is understanding our past so that we can understand our future. The systems that we have in place right now that have been there for 60 years have been working for a certain type of a certain type of people, right? Not everybody. And until we understand those fundamental issues, then we cannot break the barrier. So we have to deal with the foundation first. Okay. So unfortunately, it is the truth. The type of voters, the type of leaders we have are a reflection of who we are as a society, but that does not mean it cannot change. We've seen with young people getting enlightened, and not just young people, many other people getting enlightened and realizing, hey, we are better than these 60 years of bad systems that have been forced onto us.
Okay. Ivy? Wanjiru says everything is in plain black and white. You don't need to talk, you don't need dialogue.
The truth is, we have inherited a broken system. The Constitution can be one of the best, but it does not favor the young people, because that's why we're going on the streets. Otherwise, if the Constitution was okay and it was favoring us and we're doing the work, then why are we going on the streets? Why are we trying to change the system then? A bad government is better than none at all, that's for sure. So with this bad government that we're saying we have, we want to actually reimagine this government into a better government. It is true that we are a reflection of the system. The people, the social capital, the people on the ground, we are actually a corrupt nation. That's the truth. But how do we transform this nation from being as corrupt as we are saying that it is towards one that actually engulfs every young person, engulfs every person, be it the Mama Mboga, be it the borders, be it, how do we come together as one to transform ourselves? Because we've made mistakes. And that's why we're saying there's room for change. There's room for an intergenerational conclave dialogue whereby it is going to be centered on young people leading this conversation. Strictly, no politicians, no other people involved, just young people sitting and saying, okay, we've inherited a corrupt system. We've inherited a system that does not work for us. What can we do to change it? How can we be able to have these fundamental principles, like he's saying, one nation under God? We need those principles so that they can also guide us as we are continuing to forge the hope for the next generation coming forward.
Okay. But Ivy, I want to, sorry to interrupt you. But Valentine said something interesting, that we have one of the best constitution. Yeah. Do you agree on that? And tell us what's the problem, you think?
So, first of all, thank
Sorry,
you.
I'm just curious.
It's all right.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it's one of the best constitutions. Yes. But for me, if you're to ask me, I feel like it's way ahead of its time. The Constitution, for me, is way ahead of its time. So that's why I'm saying that there's hope for actually us trying to reimagine this Constitution, trying to maybe look at these loopholes. Where can we be able to place 1 or 2, 3 things to be able to change it to favor us? Because, I mean, we would not be on the streets if this Constitution was enabling us to have enough jobs. Just as 2023, we actually just, so as we're saying, this Constitution is favoring us, but as 2023, we actually reenacted the Climate Act. So if this Constitution was good, why do we keep making things better? Why do we keep reenacting acts that were supposed to actually favor us? It means then there are some things that need to be actually changed within that system that can be able to help us. It can be able to actually transform us to be able to help our generations. Because at the end of the day, I feel like the young people are not just saying that the Constitution is the problem. The young people are saying we want to be heard. They're not being heard. So how do we hear them?
put them together and say, what is your problem? What do you want? Because we can't create anarchy in this country. We can't go to war. I'm sorry. We cannot be Sudan, we cannot be Somalia. No. Kenya is an East African state that is very, actually, it's emulsified. The whole continent looks up to Kenya, and Kenya is the one that is going to lead the change for the continent.
So I think there is no war going on. We hope that Kenya is a peaceful country. But what Valerie have said interesting here, I think the challenge of seeing Kenya, and we have a wakil, we have a lawyer here who will help us this.
Yeah.
I think it's about implementation. Things are not being implemented.
So what's the problem?
So
how do we fix that?
Right?
How do we implement it? How do we fix it?
So what are your thoughts, Bernard, on this issue? Because Ken says it's just everything is there. Implemented. Wanjiru says that everything is fantastic. We don't need to talk. I mean, there's just implementation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Trevor, maybe I'll just say that everything is in black and white. There's no need for conversation, because we know what we want. And my fellow panelists talk of the constitution. We have the best constitution, but now the problem is the current lawmakers we have. These are a team of people who goes and implements areas that only favors them. And they make it very difficult, and they tighten areas that can easily affect them. Take a good example of how do you even recall an MP. They have gone as far as of making it very difficult to recall an MP. To see what is happening now with governors.
It's easier to impeach
a governor, but it's very difficult to recall an MP. These are guys who are now selfish, and are the team and the group of people that we really need to send home, do away with. In fact, this one, Trevor, I'm saying here today that 2027 election is going to be a game changer. And the Gen Z factor is going to a very serious contributing factor. Over 70% of the current legislators and the incumbents we have are not going to retain their seats.
Okay. And let me hear what Mugendi has to say about this. And Mugendi, you said that you've been doing a bit of research on these political scenes. First, on two issues. One, is that dialogue necessary? And two, is this Gen Z an actual factor in elections, or they're not homogeneous? Therefore, by the time elections comes, everybody now goes back to their tribal cocoons. Now we don't even know who's a millennial, who's a Gen Z, who's a grandmother. Nobody knows.
First, let me talk on the dialogue issue. I usually get surprised by people who say we don't want to talk. Because, like I've said here before, we think by talking. That is basic science. You process information by talking. And after all, no one has said that whatever you are talking, you can implement. Even after talking, you can still go do whatever you need to do later, because conversing also presents you an opportunity to read another person's perspective. And there is an arrogant assumption that I know what I know. I don't need to know anything else. What I know is right. I've sat here on several occasions and presented instances where information has been presented in a distorted manner and has misled citizens. Now, if that particular person, I remember giving you the example of the finance bill, that lady who rose up and said, everything is vatable, everything is vatable, everything is vatable. Then they ask, where is it? She can't even pinpoint it, you know? Now, if that person did not have that chance, or rather, if that person sat at home and said, I know what I know, would she have had an opportunity to be taught otherwise? No. Because we have known this for several years. When ignorance is exposed, it can be taught. When it is concealed, it corrupts. It's simple. The second issue about
the Gen Z factor.
The Gen Z factor.
The election.
I will discuss it from a purely vote analysis perspective. We have this assumption that there is a new block of voters that arise in every election season. But even for a human being, your brain doesn't operate like that. In our analysis, in our consultancy, we have seen people resort to pattern-based way of making decisions. Even in your personal life, it is very difficult to make ideological decisions every 5 years because they are pattern-based. Now, if it is not true, what I'm saying, then in 2002, we assumed we got the best president. In in just a year, we were complaining. This is not working, this is not... 2007, we had post-election violence. Is it that we were stupid or we made the wrong decision? Yeah? And it is always dangerous for someone to assume that you can call masses of people stupid or they didn't know better. Now, it is true that the way we have framed our politics is that politics is local. That is why every year, every December, we go back home. Those feminists you see on the streets, in December, they're in their shukas serving their dads and their brothers. But in Nairobi...
That's a dangerous path you're taking.
They will tell you...
Dangerous path you're taking.
I'm not talking generally. I am not talking generally. I'm only referring to those who I know personally.
Okay.
If there are others who do not operate that way, I have not claimed to speak on behalf of anybody. Okay. I know a couple of friends, and where they are, I know they are laughing. Because I know for them in Nairobi, they are the, I don't do this, I don't do that. But when they're at home, it's a totally different scenario.
Yeah.
You know? And it is good to call it out the way it is.
Okay. So you believe we are pretenders mostly?
And not just pretenders. I mean, we have reached a level, even saying something like that has become sensitive. You know, it's a hot button issue. You know, don't step there. You will be deplatformed. You will be done quite a number of things that are unfavorable to you. My pure suggestion in terms of voting, especially for candidates and people organizing or for the citizens themselves, if you cannot vote ideologically, which by and large all electoral patterns, including the US, where we hated Donald Trump and now he's back in office, it doesn't make sense, right? Rationally speaking.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be, use it to your advantage. If the patterns are showing one way, then you organize how it's supposed to be. The issue is that when people now assume power, because power exposes who you are. Power is like marriage, you know? You get into it, it exposes the worst parts of you. Are you able to be accountable with money? Are you able to be accountable? Can you keep your word to people? Are you, when you get to office, how often do you visit your constituents? Are you relatable to the problems that people have? I think I heard the president the other day talking about, I mean, it's difficult for a lot of people to know that 500 is a lot of money for a lot of people, you know? So those realities, the only way they can ever be present to you is that you also can take advantage of what is wrong and turn it for good.
Okay.
That is why there is a saying, turn lemons into lemonade. It was not there for casual conversation.
Okay, it was not just
practical.
Let me bring in Valentine. Valentine, what is your argument against this dialogue that we keep talking about? Because there are many people who say that, why not just have a conversation? Do we agree that there's something wrong? Yes, so why not have a conversation? Or, if there's no conversation, what's the alternative then?
I mean, how do you have dialogue with a regime that is killing you? With a regime that tries to silence dissent every time they feel threatened by it? How many times in this country have there been dialogues? Last year, when the finance bill came out and there was protest, there was a list that was presented by young people. How many of those things in the list was done? We've seen dialogues taking place, but then a certain group of people takes advantage of those dialogues for their own benefit. So I don't see the point. I just see the only way that we can make changes is if we vote and if we, when we say fagia wote, right, we don't necessarily just mean the president must go. We mean the systems, we mean the members of parliament, we mean the governors, we mean all these people who are rogue, all these people who stand on national TV and say, shoot to kill, all these people who stand on national TV and say, if it was me, I would have butchered 5,000 Gen Zs, right? That is what we mean. So how do we do it? Ivy can run for a position if she wants to be a member of parliament. Mugembi can say, you know what, I can run for an MCA. That's the only way we do it. A dialogue or intergenerational dialogue or whatever is being mentioned, to me, I don't feel it will suffice. I just think it is a trick, and a trick that has been in the book for so long. The best way to change is we have to see action.
Okay. So action. And this action can be taken without actually agreeing on what the action is.
No, they already know, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
The Constitution says everyone has a right to picket, peacefully picket. Everyone has a right to life. Don't shoot people while they're protesting. You know, that's the number one action you take. It's just the things that may seem so small, but are not small, that go a long way. You know, trying to say, for example, when they're trying to pass a bill that we need to monitor the kind of places that people should protest, right? That itself is a limitation. You know, you're making things worse. So in terms of education, right, we've seen what is happening in the education system right now, that the Kibaki regime was able to give us free education. And then the Uhuru, I guess, regime was also able to maintain it. Right now, we are seeing issues with not being enough finances, right? Why are there not enough finances, right? The action here is just maintain the system that was going on with education, maintain free education. If you can't make it better, at least maintain it. Don't try to get rid of it.
All right.
So implementing the Constitution is a dialogue by itself.
Okay. Let me bring in some feedback here. There's a lot of feedback coming through, and let's read them. Then we talk about way forward now as young people. What do we do from here? And you'll tell us a bit more about what SHOFCO has been doing in the informal settlements in terms of the dialogues that people are having and how that has been structured. Ken, we'd like to hear how that happens in the place where you come from. Ndiema says many youths blame the government for unemployment, yet their lifestyle often tells a different story. Visit city lounges and you'll find many of them drinking expensive alcohol, often funded by the same political class they claim is the problem. Okay? Dunya Felix says youth economic exclusion has far-reaching consequences. It denies them financial autonomy, undermines their dignity, and limits their ability to meet daily needs. SHOFCO CEO Dr. Dede has been at the forefront of addressing this gap by creating empowerment opportunities for young people. We'll talk about that as well in just a bit. J.M. Musoma, the problem in Kenya is a young, innovative population with no representation at decision-making tables. Why does the youth-dominated private sector thrive exponentially, like telecommunications, juakali, banks, matatus, and tourism, yet the government fails? Okay. Gabi says, if we truly want a better Kenya, we must dare to try something different. Real change means breaking political tradition, not just replacing leaders, but replacing the system that breeds impunity. New names, new values, new direction. Kenya won't fix itself. Okay? Babu Michael says the problem in this country when it comes to matters of the youth isn't so much about legislation or strategic plans. It is about the full implementation of the already existing initiatives, legislations, and plans to realize the set objectives. All right. Sawe says our biggest mistake as Kenya youth is placing all our hopes in the political class to shape our future and provide employment. Instead, we can chart our own path and create our own opportunities. The first step is to unite. Then they will listen. Then they will act. Babu Michael again says the youth of this country have never been taken seriously because they have never used their numbers to prove a point or show their stance on national matters. It's always use and dump, which is very unfortunate. Kennedy, what are some of the initiatives that you've put in place under SHOFCO that empowers young people?
So, Trevor, before I go there, I'll just add something else from the panelists. They've said some very important words. So, as I conclude this, so I think the issue we're facing as a country, trust. Even when we talk about here, right? We need dialogue. We don't trust each other, right? And I think when you lose this trust, we're in a very bad position, right? So nobody, the youth don't trust. If you say there's a discussion going on, they're like, we don't trust you, right? And that's dangerous, right? So, and I'll be honest with you, I work with all these leaders. You cannot talk to the youth and still carry money in bags. What are you doing? So my advice to the political leaders, please, you are being observed. Have some dignity, okay? Because the way you are acting, we cannot talk about peace, that my sister Ivy talks about here, which I believe you, my sister, for that. And then some other people talk about tutaiba. We don't care. Doesn't work, right? So our leaders have to start behaving as leaders. Leadership is about inspiring. Leadership is about, we see you, we believe in you, not just for you just to talk what we want to say. So we need to, how do we build trust? That's the point. How do we build trust? That's very important. Trust is important. We are losing trust in Kenya. So and then I want to add now on what we are doing. Again, this is something I really have to struggle with. I stopped blaming the government for my own failure in Kibera slum, right? And be like, I have to do something. And still up to now, the youth have to understand that. They have to do something. So what I've done at Shofco with the youth, for example, youth need jobs. And the youth in this country are crazy smart, man. They're, oh my God, the ideas that you come across, you've blown away their mind. So what I've done here is, they need capital. So we're able to start a SACCO ya watu wa chini. Believe me, they just get almost over $10 million coming from the ground, organizing. And now the youth...
$10 million.
Thank you. The youth are borrowing this money, and they say we cannot pay like other people. We are paying 15%, 12%, 6% per year. So I've seen youth able to start jobs. And then I met the president sometimes back, and we talk about the housing project that was working on, right? And I said, Your Excellency, this idea of youth, they have been doing this job. They don't have the certificate. So with the NITA, we're able to train the youth in formal settlement, so they can be fundis. So when they go to work there, maybe they can wear a suit now, right? Yeah. They are now being paid as a fundi, not as unskilled labor, right? So take them to TVETs. We are also working the youth whereby honestly, I say that nobody should call you on the table. You don't wait to be called, right? We are talking with youths from the grassroots level. And what we're going to do in Homa Bay is what has been happening in the entire country, right? Whereby they talk to their chiefs, they work with their MCAs, because change doesn't start from top. Change starts from the ground here, from the grassroots level. So we engage them in talks, and the ID, for example, is a big issue. We were able to work on that. So most of the youth now, they're working on, get your ID. Not only political, not only for political thing. No, ID is a way you can get a job. Yeah. ID will help you to progress in your life. Yeah. So we are working on creating jobs for the youths. Yeah. We are giving them loans. We're also giving grants, and I've seen change happening.
So $10 million, that's about 1.2 billion Kenya shillings.
The youth. You get it?
Giving this to young people.
Yes.
How do you decide who you're funding, what kind of plan they have? Do they need collateral? Because that has been the big...
That's the issue. They don't need collateral. That's the problem. You get it? Because they don't have much, so they can't get loans at other places because of that. But it's about what? Trust. Okay. You're in youth groups. Are you together? We know you. They know each other. I don't know them. They know each other like that. Okay? And then I also see businesses.
So you fund them in groups?
Yes.
Yes. I
saw them in businesses that are... Individual also, you can come as an individual.
Yeah.
But you're part... We know you. They know each other. They do businesses. I've seen them growing, right? And then as I see the change start, you will not abuse you. Bernard, you have to know this. Nobody who is an empty stomach will be able to understand Article 35 to 37. When your stomach is empty. I was one of them. When I used to go to meetings, they called me for a meeting, and I used to live in Kibera. Hey, when I talk about article, I'm like, but I toa kitu, nini hizi articles zako bana? Nini kizungu mingi? Why? I'm hungry. I want food. So what I believe is that we have to work on people to be belly to be full. Yeah. When your belly is full, that's a Trevor tuongee sasa. Niambie your article sasa, right? So I think that we have to create this opportunity on the ground so that the youth can be innovative. They can have something their own money now, and then they're now ready for the next.
Okay. Well, what is your plan going forward? Because that's a big organization you're running there. If you're talking 1.2 billion shillings, are you going to turn this into a bank? What is the plan going forward?
So that is really, so just to be careful again, that is just, they build what? A SACCO.
Yeah.
Shofco SACCO. Are you together? I'll only give you one way, where one kind of product that we have. Yeah. That's for the youth on the SACCO, right? And then there is Shofco, which is the NGO, right? So the plan is that we are now in 35 counties. We want to reach 47 counties, right? That's the point we're heading to. And then my agenda is, how do we build the other Ivies, the other Valentines, the other Mugendis, the other Bernards. That's my dream, honestly. You know, I feel myself because of my, I'm not that old, just to be clear, but because of my experience and what I've went through, I feel more like an elder in me, right? And it's not about me. How do we empower others? How do we have more Kennedys in communities? Yeah, I want to see more IV like this in the communities. And then I'm like, yes, that's where I'm heading to.
Okay, interesting. Ivy, as we wind up this conversation, so way forward, what is your rallying call to the young people?
Okay, first, let me just start by addressing my sister, Valentine. I want to say that we are not asking for a national conversation with because of it's an issue of power or who holds power. We're not asking for a national conversation so we sit down with Raila, the president, and ODM or UDA. No, we're saying this national conversation needs to be citizen-led, and the Constitution actually gives room for this implementation as dialogue. So I believe that we are doing the implementation phase. We are now actually moving into the implementation phase where this conversation is about airing out the concerns of the young people. We are saying this is the way, this is the opportunity for a national conversation to actually occur so that we can be able to actually fix the system. The system can actually be able to enable organizations like SHOFCO and other organizations that are willing to actually come on board and help other young people. Many entrepreneurs are looking for opportunities like this in SHOFCO. Many other people are looking, where can I be able to tap in to be able to actually accelerate my business? This is why we need the national conversation, so that we can understand what are your needs and what are your wants. These are some of the things that young people need to know. And as VAR, I also want to say that most of our members are young lawyers. Young lawyers, Gen Z lawyers, brilliant young lawyers, very enthusiastic about how they can be able to help change the systematic systems that are wrong. So we are actually doing things on the ground. We just want them to now reach into the implementation phase where we can actually dialogue. I want to maybe quote one of the great French philosophers where he says, cogito ergo sum. I am because I think. I am because I think. I think because I am. The fact that you're able to think, you're able to actually reenact, to be able to re-envision, reimagine something that has never been seen before. So we are saying we are in that phase of reforms. We're in that phase where we want to now come out and reform the institutions, reform the systems. He was saying that it's very hard to actually recall an MP. In one of our conversations in our podcast, we actually talk about public participation on how these MPs can be recalled, creating like a kind of oversight committee made of young people, women, men, that can say that if you've not been doing this work in your constituency, maybe let's say we give you a minimum of at least 2 years. If you're not able to deliver, step down. Calmly. We're not trying to tell you by force, get out. No, if you're not able to deliver your whatever you had said, your memorandum or whatever you had said you're going to, yes, in 2 years, we're just saying step down and let someone else lead. In a nice way. We don't need to argue. We don't need to be angry about things. We're just trying to say, let us restructure the system. Let us reform. We're in that period where young people are ready to sit on the table. The president called the Gen Zs last year and said, okay, what do you want? Nobody came front. Nobody came up. But now we are being given an opportunity to actually now say, we are ready. We want to speak. We want to say these are our problems. And we are saying the national conversation is the way to go.
All right. Bernard, way forward. Plus, what inspired you to run? You haven't mentioned where you're running.
Yeah, tell us, Bernard.
Yeah.
Trevor, maybe to begin with what inspired me to run, I'll first start by giving a simple history, a short one, a brief one. You know, we have a lot of idea as young people, but now we have no people to speak for us. And once you are a victim of a certain bad thing, it is now good that you can now be a lead at a good example for the rest. Because I was once beaten in a way. Then I feel, what if I suffered this? I'm trying to fight for a space somewhere. And there are those ones also who deserves what I lacked to get where I am. What do I need to do? I really need to fight hard so that I get to that place to help some of the victims who are also behind. Trevor, it is said that in the heart of every young man, there lies a potential of greatness. Indeed, we are very potentialed. And as we look at things the way they're happening, the way you are quiet, and we suffer for lack of knowledge. We Gen Zs and the millennials, let me say the current, the contemporary society we are in, we are very aware of so many things that are happening. But many of us fear speaking them out. And as it says, that fear is a debt that you owe no one. So there are a lot of challenges. Yeah. There are a lot of issues that we really need to address. But we cannot wait till we are given the spaces. We really need to fight for them ourselves. Okay. Getting to a point whereby a young leader, let me use a good example of my sister in Washington, a fellow panelist.
Valentine.
Valentine. Yeah. For her to get that courage and address the so-called former DP in the manner in which she did, it really called for courage. Yeah. But if she went quiet, actually there were a lot of pressing issues, but majority were afraid of expressing them. Okay. The moment she realized that I really need to speak this thing out, it really helped many outside here. Okay. So we have, I thought it got to a point whereby I thought of, I wish we had a representative of youth maybe in the Bunge, because you find many ordinary people outside there. They have so many proposals that can be addressed in a form of bills, but they cannot, they only discuss them in barazas, in motorbike sheds and everything. They don't have anyone to whom they can tell to go and represent them. Okay. So it is high time if we fight for these spaces and tell the country and the nation what we want, actually we'll be in a better place. Okay. And we youth think the current insult and the abuse we are getting from the leaders whom we elected, that will mark just the end of it and everything. All right. Mugendi, closing remarks, briefly.
Yes, mine is to encourage everyone to brighten the corner where you are. There is too much doom and gloom that is being presented in terms of the information that we are consuming, that is preventing us from seeing other beautiful things going on, other opportunities that are percolating in environments that could even be close to us. Secondly, as I'm closing, is to, for every person telling you not to talk, please ask yourself, what's in it for me? Because that person who is asking you not to talk, you do not know who they talk to at night. You do not know their private life. You do not know where they go after they've told you not to talk to someone. So please ask yourself, when someone is asking you to act contrary to your interests, what's in it for me? Okay. Thirdly, I'm winding up, Trevor. Let us learn as youth to get along with people we disagree with. In this life, people have different perspectives, people see different angles, people see various perspectives. Just because someone disagrees with your point of view does not mean they are an enemy. It simply means they have a different point of view. It doesn't mean that they are a bad person. It doesn't mean that they have a weaker character. They've just seen things differently. And lastly, to every single youth person out there, anything you do in life, anywhere, and you have seen primary examples here, what you have set your heart to do is what will come to fruition. So no matter what you're told in terms of doom and gloom, always understand that what you have purposed is what is going to come forth. Okay. Valentine?
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Trevor. First, Bernard, I commend you for taking the first step and a bold one in running, and I wish you all the best. Yuval Harari, in his book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, he says, if the future of humanity is decided in your absence because you're too busy feeding your kids or finding clothing for them, then you will not be exempt from the consequences. So I'm urging all the youth who at this point have not taken IDs or don't have hope, that there is hope at the end of the tunnel, and that they should take those IDs and that we should vote in 2027. And those who are too afraid to run for these seats, either because of finances or because they think the incumbent is gonna defeat them, they should take the step just like Bernard and do it. And that's how we start taking back our country.
Okay.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you. Ken, close this for us.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I know the youths are looking at us now today here. I want to say that don't give up.
Yeah.
We hear you. We feel you. Life is hard. But the thing that I've learned in my life is that not giving up. There was a time in my life that I was going to give up. And I thought I reached the wall. But what I can learn is that keep on moving. There's a better light coming ahead of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Kennedy Odede is the CEO of SHOFCO and UN Mandela Prize winner 2025. And by the congratulations for that.
Asante.
Made all of us proud. Thank you for doing that for the country. Jared Mugendi, advocate of the High Court. Valentine Wanjiru, founder 6.25 movement. Valentine, you have something to add before we
Yes.
go? Yes.
Yes. For those who want to join our movement, they can find us on www.the625movement.com or Instagram at the625.com. And yeah, I just want to say hi to my sister and brother. I know they are my sisters and brothers. They are watching.
You can mention their name. It's all good.
Oh,
Tuma
okay.
salam, Tuma salam.
Tristan, Nathan, and June.
Thank you, Valentine. Valentine Wanjiru, they are founder of 6.25 movement, speaking to us from Washington. Bernardo Koth, youth leader, and Ivy Mushoki, national coordinator, VAR 3738. Thank you all for speaking to us this morning and for making time. And thank you all for sending in all the feedback. We have to keep talking so that we understand each other, give different perspectives, and find solutions together, because in the end, we will chart our destiny together or perish together as fools. Bye for now. My name is Trevor.